Katie Rosenberg, Mayor-elect. Thank you for
Yeah,
joining us on Up North News.
thank you for having me.
Well, tell us about the campaign first. How long has it been going on since you declared?
Sure, I filed my paperwork last April, so this has been about a year for me, which is abnormal for Wausau. I would say a lot of people who've run in these kinds of elections have announced in November or December. But I wanted to make sure people had a chance to get to know me, which ended up being really good this year.
It really did, and also to show knowledge on the issues, and tell me about some of the issues, especially the ones quite specific to Wausau over the past year.
Right. So I would say in Wausau, there are a couple of big issues. Number one is kind of how the city is investing the public funds. We are seeing a lot of investment through TIF dollars and things like that. And we're also seeing our budget kind of occupied by a lot of spending towards debt. So that's something that has come up repeatedly in business communities when we're talking to other members of municipal governments like the school district who, they lose out on some of that money in the short term. So, been talking a lot about how do we reform our economic development program. So really, I've been looking to our other cities, La Crosse, Eau Claire, places like that. How are they doing these programs? What are the best practices? So I'm really excited to get to work and really start on those changes pretty immediately, working on vetting developers really thoroughly, the way a commercial bank would. If they're getting money, making sure that they have earnest money up front so we know they're serious, and just making sure the city council really knows what they're voting on with these plans.
Well, it sounds like when you're talking about economic development and making sure the homework is done, uh, certainly the reverse of that for some folks would be what happened with the Foxconn development and all the money put into that for
Right.
what may or may not pay off. What was that one of the factors in your mind in thinking about how a northern Wisconsin city would do economic development going forward?
Right. So I would say Foxconn is one of those things where, when the legislature came together to create that bundle, that package for them, they weren't following the state's own best practices, right? WEDC has certain standards, and that specific development didn't meet those standards. So I think when we're talking about Wausau and we're talking about our standards, yeah, we would need to make sure that these companies that we're giving money to are reinvesting in us. We had a problem right away, maybe 3 years ago on the riverfront with the River Life program, and it ended up costing us because we didn't do the research on this developer. We ended up paying money, $4 million in what would have been incentives for developers. We ended up paying in liens and fees. So that's not the way I want to spend our public dollars. And certainly, you know, keeping your fingers crossed for such a big thing like Foxconn, but I'm just not sure what we're going to see there. It seems like it's changing.
Sure. Now, as well, somebody who may arguably be one of the younger mayors in Wisconsin when you take office, from a generational standpoint, when you look at not just recent years, but over the past couple of decades, do you feel like this incoming generation of leaders is being left with a lot of baggage, burdens, debts, as opposed to something that was well managed coming into it? I know a lot of people tend to think that the previous generation left them everything from pollution problems to pension fund
Mhm.
problems.
Yeah, right. I mean, this is the second economic crisis I will go through in my professional career. I was working at a television station during that first recession, and it's tough. It's tough to start your career. I was one of the lucky ones that actually got to keep my job. I was just furloughed. So, coming into this, making sure we're managing those resources well is important. And, we see a lot of lawmakers kind of talking about, oh, how are we going to attract millennials? And I think part of that is including us in the process. I think you need to hear from people. And it's not just about millennials for me. When I look at the demographics of Wausau, we are a little bit older than other communities. So we want to make sure that people who are living here and maybe want to retire and sell their home, they have an opportunity to do that and downsize. I worked for the last 4 years on the Marathon County Board to make sure we had a nursing home that was county run, that was safe for everybody. My grandparents lived there for the last years of their life. So I think we're looking at this holistically, but really when it comes down to it, we have to be so careful about our money. It's not going to get easier. Budgeting never gets easier. It's tougher and tougher every year.
As you were talking to what is understandably an older base of voters, as would be the case throughout much of northern Wisconsin, did you have to overcome a lot of skepticism over time, or the fact that you put in as much service as you did at the county board level helped overcome any hesitancy about your youth?
I think you're going to see that no matter what. People might look at me and say, oh, I'm too young, oh, I'm a woman. There's a number of things that just culturally play against me. So I think meeting people face to face, talking to people, asking them what they care about is really one of the important things. I had really great reception when I was going door to door. And again, I couldn't do that in that last month. But I started in October. So I had good reception then. We had a couple of really good debates. I felt like I had to over prepare. If you look at the first debate that we had, I'm rattling off statistics and speaking super fast, but I just really want to make sure I get all of it out there because I know this stuff. And I just need people to believe in me that, I'm a vessel for what's important for Wausau. You always think about some of those factors, how you're appearing to other people. I had a lot of unsolicited feedback about me, anything from my name to my age. So, you do get a lot of it. And I just don't know, my dad was involved in politics for 20 years and he got some feedback that was pretty negative, but it was never about his gender or his age. So that's something new for me. And at the end of the day, it just doesn't matter. Like I am who I am, and you're gonna accept me for that, or you're not. So we're just gonna have to figure out how to work together.
So when the results were coming in last night, not only were you watching yours, but of course there was a closely watched state Supreme Court race. And so I have to ask first, this rather colorful tweet that you put out afterwards, was that a reaction to you or to Jill Karofsky's surprise win,
All of
or both?
it. All of it. So during that time, our Marathon County elections result website, I've been refreshing it for about 45 minutes by that time. And all of a sudden I saw my results and I wasn't sure if it was all of my results, every single city precinct, or if I was still waiting. So I was excited, but I wasn't sure. So that was kind of my excited tweet. And I guess we went viral on that. I wasn't expecting that. I was on a Zoom call with my campaign manager and some of my friends who had helped me out, which was really good. It also helped me when I said, are all of our results in? Can you look at these precincts for me? And then, I had my husband here. We've been safer at home together for the last month. So he was really excited too. I did have a friend drive by. Her 5-year-old son was really excited to show me a poster that he made. So I stepped outside and waved at them. But yeah, it was really not what I expected for a campaign event night. But you know what? It's kind of nice. It's nice to be able to be in my own home and celebrate that way. I always looked at myself as kind of an introvert, which maybe doesn't seem right. But it was nice to be home with the people I care about.
The last question is what you do going forward, and nobody can truly answer this. I understand we've never been through a pandemic like this before, but it is hurting jobs and it is hurting businesses everywhere, not just Wausau, but you have to worry about what's in your own sphere. What are your own thoughts going forward as to what you can do or what you can only do with state or federal assistance?
Right. So a lot of this is going to require some partnerships with our state and federal partners here. But I think starting it, getting in control, one of the things that I realized right off the bat was that the county was very prepared to offer contingency plans. They had continuity of service. Basically every department put these plans together right away. And it wasn't something I was seeing from the city. So that's something that I'm going to shore up with the city right away. It's really important that we continue the services that people need, especially those essential services. But we also need to think about, okay, what does participation look like right now when we can't have people attending these meetings? How can they participate meaningfully? How do we even swear in a council? Is it over WebEx? That's crazy, but I think we're going to have to figure that out. So just making sure that we're focusing on the stuff that will help the most people in Wausau. I mean, we have a very vibrant Main Street. Last year, we won first in the nation for our Main Street. It's a big deal, but a lot of those businesses that are the heart of it are closed right now, or they have drastically changed their business model. So how can we help them? Is it no interest loans? Is it things like that? How can we offer technical services? Maybe they don't know how to apply for that. Can we help them with the SBA, stuff like that? So it's going to be a lot of work. We're going to have to figure that out. But I'm ready. I'm ready for this.
Well, Katie Rosenberg, we wish you all the best with a smooth transition and a good takeoff despite the challenging times. And we're really thankful you could visit with us today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time to be with me.